On this trip, my very good friend Heather actually lent me her husband. Yes, she lent me her husband for the trip. His name is Aaron, to help take photos and videos. Everybody say hi, Aaron. Step 1 when I land in any country is collect some cash. Well, this is the most money I've ever had. About 100,000 won, big spender. Woo! Just kidding, it's about 89 US dollars. Then I bought my transportation cards, which were so cute. They had little bears on them. Everything in Korea is so cute. There's hearts and little cartoon characters everywhere. I'm gonna go with 33. Select. It's got little hearts. Here it comes. Got it. When we got into the city, we decided to just walk around to orient ourselves and to help keep us awake to shake off the jet lag. We got there early in the morning, like before 5 o'clock in the morning. And we had to try to stay awake until sundown. So we walked around to keep ourselves up. South Korea is so interesting because they have huge high-tech high-rise buildings right next to ancient oriental old buildings all over town. And the whole city is surrounded by mountains. In fact, many of the royal portraits have the 5 famous mountains in the background with the sun and the moon for the king and the queen. Our first Korean lunch was in the myeong-dong shopping district. We stopped here to pick Heather up some amazing Korean cosmetics. I'm sure you've heard about it. Their face mask, skincare, everything is phenomenal. And I couldn't let poor Aaron go shopping for cosmetics by himself, so I had to accompany him. And I may have ended up buying myself a few things as well. Then we went up to Seoul Tower, which has an amazing 360 panoramic view of the city. You can even see out into North Korea out some of the windows. It's also a great way to get yourself an idea of the lay of the land. However, they had the weirdest bathroom I have ever been in. You walk into the stall and the stall is just solid glass and you can look out on the city and there's a toilet right there, and I'm like, okay, so I'm supposed to take my pants off and go to the bathroom here. Hopefully it's a two-way mirror, because I did. Otherwise, some people got an excellent view. And on the way down, there is forest all the way up the hill. We stopped in the forest and had an amazing dinner. The food in Korea is amazing, and it's so healthy for you. Then we had our much-deserved first sleep for our first night in Seoul, South Korea. The second day was the day of palaces. We got to see 2 UNESCO World Heritage Sites, which were Cheongdeokgung Palace and the Jeongmyo Shrine. And finally, we saw Gyeongbokgung Palace, and we got to see the changing of the guard there. Cheongdeokgung Palace was completed between 1405 and 1412. Although, I should note, much of Seoul, including the palaces, were destroyed by Japan and then rebuilt. And I think Korea is still a little sour about it, because at the bottom of every single sign and every single map and every single pamphlet, it states all of the buildings were destroyed by the fire during the Japanese invasion of 1592. In fact, it said it so often that Aaron could repeat the phrase by heart by the end of this trip. It's an impressively beautiful palace that works seamlessly into the geography. It slopes with the curves of the land instead of trying to level the land first and then build on top of it. By the way, I thought these lamps were really creepy and looked like little floating ghosts. The highlight is the super impressive secret garden, which also contains the Forbidden Garden. It was named this because only the king and queen could use it. Even high officials were not allowed to enter without the king's explicit permission. Jeongmyo Shrine is a very important cultural worship place. It is the oldest of the Confucian royal shrines, and it houses the tablets that contain the spirits of all of the kings and queens of the Joseon dynasty, according to their beliefs. So they believe this is actually the resting place of the souls of the royal people. And you can really feel the spiritual presence here. There are some pathways you can't walk on because they're reserved for the passage of the spirits. It's just a quiet place of reflection. Nature is very prevalent. The buildings here were originally built in 1394, but you guessed it, it was destroyed by fire during the Japanese invasion of 1592 and rebuilt in 1608. Which is still incredibly old, if you ask me. We stopped for lunch at a place where we could watch them hand roll the dumplings, and oh my goodness, it was so delicious. The great thing about Korea is they also help cook at the table for you, and they'll even help you serve. So if you're clueless tourists like myself, the employees will really help you out. Gyeongbokgung Palace is the largest of the 5 palaces in Seoul. Yes, I said 5 palaces in the city of Seoul. Anyway, it was built in 1395. The palace was only mostly destroyed during the Japanese invasion, but then unfortunately they leveled it in order to build a Japanese colonial headquarters on the grounds of the palace. So unfortunately, it was all destroyed. However, the 330 buildings in this walled city within a city are now restored so that you can actually visit them. The palace literally translates to greatly blessed by heaven, and it is in fact greatly blessed. It was also the seat of power for the dynasty for centuries. And fun fact, a poll of nearly 2,000 foreign visitors that was conducted by the Seoul Metropolitan Government stated that watching the changing of the guards at the main gate was one of the 3rd favorite activities in Seoul. So we definitely made sure we checked it out. So for dinner, you absolutely have to do a Korean steakhouse where they cook for you right on the table. It's so delicious and so fresh. And I also tried soju for the first time here, which is the local liquor. It was potent. Finding my way back to my room that night was a little trickier than the night before. We woke up early the next day for the big DMZ GSA tour in North Korea. DMZ stands for Demilitarized Zone. It's a 150-mile long strip of land that exists on the border between North and South Korea. It is intended to be a buffer between 2 feuding halves of the nation. Each country has heavy fortifications in this area, a lot of military presence. The Truce Village is also located here, but most of the area is unoccupied. From the Dora Observatory there, you can look into North Korea on a clear day. You can see the fake propaganda village that North Korea built just on the other side, so South Koreans could see it in hopes that they would make their country look like it was very prosperous and very rich. But South Koreans looked very closely into this village through binoculars and other technology. You can tell that the buildings are just concrete empty shells. Some of them don't have windows, or some of them the doors are even painted on. It's just a shell to try to make it look like a city. And there are no people who live there. There's a crew that comes by every now and then to clean it, but there's not actually people living there. It's just a fake propaganda village. When we first arrived, we saw the Bridge of No Return, which is named this because it was the last place that prisoners of war were exchanged, and they were told if they crossed to the bridge, they could never come back. It was last used in 1968. Also here is this rusting train riveted with bullet holes and bent wheels from bombing. They keep it here to serve as a reminder of the horrible 3-year-long Korean War. We were able to visit one of the 4 discovered tunnels that North Korea dug under the border in an attempt to be able to quickly take over South Korea. They believe there could be as many as 20 that they have not discovered yet. Unfortunately, photography or videography was forbidden for security purposes, so here is a model and a photograph from the website. We also visited the train station. Trains used to connect the 2 Koreas here, and South Korea has recently renovated this station. It's beautiful. It's really up to date. They're hoping that one day in the near future, the 2 halves of the country will be whole again, and this will be a very busy, very utilized station. but for now, it is the last stop. It doesn't go any further into North Korea. The JSA, or Joint Security Area, is within the DMZ. It is where negotiations take place. I'm sure you've seen it on the news a lot. It's also the area of many violent attacks over the years, unfortunately. For this reason, we had to go through a safety briefing before entering of what you can and cannot do, where you can and cannot look, where you can and cannot film. It was a little scary, but you're being closely watched by South Korean soldiers, United Nations soldiers, the entire time you're there to protect you from being captured and taken to the North Korea side. It can be quite intimidating. The line between the two Koreas crosses through the center of these buildings, and each one has a conference table in the very middle that marks the demarcation line. The border here, you can see, is actually marked by the microphones and the little flag in the middle of the table. So if you walk past the line, you are standing in North Korea. A soldier stands in front of the northern door to protect you from being taken. Here's a picture of me standing in North Korea. The day was very draining, so we decided that Korean steakhouse was so delicious and so close by. We actually ate there a second time that night for dinner. Since it was our last night in Korea, we decided one dinner was not enough. So after the tension of the day, we decided to enjoy our last Korean night watching Korean baseball and indulging in the famous Korean fried chicken, which, oh my gosh, guys, was so good. Hi friends! Thanks so much for watching. That was my time in Korea. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe so you can follow me on my travels around the world. Next stop, I'm going to the birthplace of the tango. Comment down below if you know what that is. Also, let me know, I'm thinking about doing a pack with me, or maybe 10 essentials that I always have to have when I travel the world, or maybe a plan with me. So if you'd be interested in seeing something like that, comment down below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys next time. Bye! Subscribe to The Wandering Lisa if you want to watch her videos traveling around the world. Yeah!